It is Wednesday, August 7th, 2024. This is another edition of Baseball Today, presented to you by our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan, intern Tommy along for the ride as well. Quick reminder to get your 5 Hour Energy question of the week in by Thursday night so we can use the best question on Friday's show. We've been doing this sort of thing for the last 2 months, and you all have aced the exam, so keep it going this week as well. What up, dude? How are you?
What's up, C. Rosie? I'm excited to see you back in your home studio. You had a great day. I saw some of the clips of your work with the NFL Network. Obviously, you do a great job. I don't know how you do it. Like, you're just able to transition sport to sport. You're Jake and I were actually talking about you earlier today. You know what he said?
No.
He's like, Chris Rose is my actual idol. After he said some bad things about you, then he went there.
Oh.
So it's kind of like, you know.
What part of the show? So I can just, I don't know if they're going to tag it.
We'll talk after.
Okay, good. I want to hear some bad things too. I like it. You know, that kind of keeps me in check. But that's very sweet, though. I love, people get mad. It's very interesting. People get very upset and jealous when you talk about one sport or the other. I grew up an enormous sports fan. It's why I am so thankful to be doing what I'm doing on all sorts of platforms, just because I love it. I love it. I've been doing this 30 years. There's a lot of people that get crusty and grumpy and they don't want to have to travel to that event or this event. I'm fortunate as hell. So why can't I enjoy multiple things? I don't know. It's fun.
You also look, I think what he said was, secret of John Boy Media is Chris Rose is actually 140 years old.
True. True. Is there another part to it?
You added some years with the beard today.
Yeah, I did. Well, I colored it a little bit yesterday because on TV, see, when I'm here, if I do this, it kind of fills in all right. But on TV, if I go on it looks like I've been sleeping under a bridge for like 3 weeks. So
totally understand. The TV stuff is nuts. You got to do foundation, do all that.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Yeah. That's okay. All right, lot to cover today. We're going to start out with really an appreciation. I'm not going to call it a tip of the cap, but an appreciation for somebody that the baseball community lost on Tuesday, and that is Billy Beane, former player, league senior vice president of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and only the second openly gay player. He came out after his playing career was done with the San Diego Padres. And I think, I'd met and interviewed Billy a handful of times, and I don't know if you had any communication with him, but good dude that I think showed a lot of bravery and kind of carved a path in a very conservative-minded sport to say, hey, listen, there is a face to this. And if there's only been 2 openly gay players over the last several decades, y'all might want to rethink this a little bit. And I thought that Billy did a tremendous job with that during his time in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, no, I had plenty of interactions with him. He'd come around in spring training, kind of give some talks, work the clubhouse a little bit, and this is a super pleasant dude, a great ambassador for the game. I'll give him that. He really represented the game well. So I saw this yesterday. I was pretty shocked by it. So kind of hit me a little bit.
Yeah, it's just 60 years old. He had been battling leukemia over the last year. We send our best to his entire family and really the baseball family because he was a vital, vital part of it. As for the game that Billy Beane loved as a player and also as somebody who worked in the league, we almost got one of those special moments again last night. Framber Valdez, who a year ago in his first start in the month of August threw a no-hitter against my Cleveland Guardians, towed the slab at the home of the world champs, got to the 9th inning with a no-hitter, walked the leadoff hitter, got a double play grounder on the next pitch, and so with 2 outs, here's a World Series hero step into the dish.
And skies this one to right. Chaz McCormick all the way back, and the no-hitter is over. 1 out away from a no-hitter. Instead, Corey Seager connects for a 2-run home run.
How bummed must he be?
It's so tough. I know the pitch count was up there, but he walks the first hitter. He gets the double play. I think he walked Josh Smith, the next batter. And so I think this was probably, I don't know if they're going to let him go more bad. If he walked Seager, do they let him continue to go out there? He said after the game, that was a cutter. He said, maybe I should have went with my sinker there, but my cutter was working for me all game, and he's just a good hitter. That's what he does. Very tough, though. 2 outs in the 9th to see not only your no-hitter go, but your shutout go, your complete game go, all of that. It is tough for a pitcher. And I guess you have to tip your cap to Corey Seager. I think he's the only player in Major League Baseball history to do that twice. I don't know who was the other one against. Do you have that up?
Yes, I was there. Matt Moore of the San Francisco Giants. And this was amazing. I was just getting on the plane home, and I got an alert on my phone that says Framber Valdez, because my head wasn't in the baseball space at that point. Framber Valdez has a no-hitter through 8 innings. So I was like, all right, I'm going to throw this on. I'm in line on Southwest, so it's the cattle call. And I'm standing there, and some guy's looking over my shoulder. He's like, what's going on? I said, there's a no-hitter going on in the 9th. So now it's time to walk on the plane. I was like, oh, my God, I'm going to lose my feed here. So I get on, I sit down. I can still get the feed, thankfully, at the gate. And I'm sitting down, and I was like, oh, my God. And then our oldest son, Josh, is back in L.A., and right when the homer happens, he goes, guess what? We were at the other one that Seager broke up. And I was like, we were? I was like, oh, my God, we were. It was Gorkys Hernandez. Do you remember Gorkys Hernandez?
Sure.
A spare outfielder. He didn't even dive. Go and look this up. Like, it was a soft liner. He was within 5 feet of it. He should have dove. We were all yelling at him. Oh, yeah. So
you got to dive.
That was the other time. The bigger question about Houston, as they're fighting it out with Seattle atop the AL West, is this starting rotation good enough to push the Astros to the World Series?
I think so, Chris. I mean, it's dependent on a few guys coming back. You know, Luis Garcia's making his way back. Verlander is ready to go on a rehab assignment. So if he comes back, then you're looking at 4 or 5 guys that you can definitely kind of count on. You got Framber, you know, Ronel Blanco. I know he's, you know, at career high innings. So is Hunter Brown, but Hunter Brown, the stats since the beginning of May,
incredible.
99 innings pitched, a 2.64, Chris.
Yep, elite.
He's been really, really doing it. So you talk about Framber, Hunter Brown, Ronel Blanco, Justin Verlander. You think he's going to be there for sure. And then Kikuchi, what we saw out of him in his first start, maybe they've tapped into something. We'll see how that goes. If he looks like he looked in his first start, then yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that they have enough there. And the back end of the bullpen, which struggled at the beginning of the season, has been good. So they have everything they need to make it to the World Series. I mean, you cannot doubt the Houston Astros.
No. You made a good point about the rest of these guys. Blanco has been phenomenal this year, except for July, he had an ERA of almost 4.5. Brown, you mentioned, horrible in April, made progress in May, and since June has just been lights out. Kikuchi, now Verlander. They're going to go to a 6-man rotation. I think they're just going to cut down on some people's innings, and I think that they're going to kind of nurse these guys through some of these injuries, because Verlander, as we've seen with Max Scherzer, like, okay, he's back, and then he goes back on the shelf. It could be another. Hell, you're over 40 years old. I can tell you this from experience. Shit goes wrong. It happens all the time. So they've got to be careful, but also in particular because there's no standout pitching staff in the American League. All these teams have question marks in their rotations moving forward, and the Astros aren't any different. And I think when we're ready to line it up, you know, from mid-August on, they could be close to the best. So there you go. All right, forget about the World Series talk for the Chicago White Sox, but they did get a W.
Streak. This could do it. Out to left field coming in. Benintendi. And the streak is over. After 21 L's in a row, the White Sox come to the West Coast and get their first win in a long time. Say it with me. Southside, stand up.
I'm thinking don't get absolutely shelled today. And it's the same thing I think every day. Throw strikes, change speeds, change locations, try not to give up any runs, you big old idiot. So regardless of streaks or anything like that, it's the same thought process every time.
That was the words of John Brebbia, who was on the mound when the streak was over. He's very, very funny. He's a hilarious interview. His beard, however, I mean, so the last time he trimmed it was when they won?
Oh.
I don't know. Seriously, what's going on in that thing?
I don't know. That's it. It's his thing. a lot of people say beards are like big sunglasses. When women wear big sunglasses, sometimes that's like, they're to hide. Maybe they don't like the way they look in the morning. They say beards for men are the same. They up your game like 2 points.
Well, that's what Michelle says. It's makeup.
Maybe
for
that's
men.
what it is.
Yeah, but I am curious because it's so frothy. It looks uncomfortable.
Yeah, like sleeping on that thing can't be good.
Eating. How the hell do you get the food to your
eating.
mouth without getting, hair in it? Just must drink a lot of shakes through a straw.
I had like a decent side beard at one point, and it just, it's not great. I don't have like, mine's like more, it's not fluffy. It's more like almost like stringy.
Yours is always on point. It is always, you trim it.
Trim it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying that it's always on point. It's really, really good. Okay, anyway, that's not what we're talking about with the White Sox. So funny because I think I said like a week or 10 days ago, we're not going to talk about this anymore. And then we feel like we talked about it every day on the show.
Every day.
Now that the streak is over, what is your biggest takeaway?
What? I don't know. I don't really have a takeaway from something like this. I think didn't the White Sox win 10 games in a row also this year? And then they had, or maybe it was 7 games in a row.
Yeah.
And then they had multiple losing streaks of over 14 games. Like, I think the biggest takeaway is baseball is really tough. And if you are not giving your best effort and you start to get into the mindset that, we're going to lose, which a lot of these guys got into that mindset. There's no doubt about it. We're going to lose today. Here it is. You're going to lose. Like, you have to go show up every single day trying to battle. I don't really have a takeaway. It's not a good roster, Chris.
Okay, I've got one.
They're not. Okay, go ahead.
I've got one. I cannot believe how far this franchise has fallen in a short span. I think that is it, because sometimes you can see the tidal wave coming. You're like, okay, they're selling off players. It's really now. Last year, I think at the trade deadline was kind of the final straw, and you knew it was going to get ugly. We didn't think it was going to be this bad. But I will tell you this. On August 7th, 2022, so 2 years ago today, the Chicago White Sox were 2 back in the division. They woke up on this Wednesday 41 games out. How the heck? You don't have to comprehend that.
I was the biggest White Sox supporter. I thought they had the makeup. I thought they had the Cubans. I love my Cuban ball players. Like, they had everything going for them. I thought they were just right for just a massive run. I thought Kopech was going to be an incredible starter. I thought there were so many things they had going for them. And man, it just obviously did not work out, to say the least.
I can't remember a franchise that fell this quickly. It really has just happened.
And they were trying. Like, this year, not so much. They weren't really trying this year. But prior, they have been trying. They were putting together a team. They were signing free agents. They brought in Benintendi. And it just, man.
Horrible. Southside. Stand up.
And they're locked into the 11th pick. They're not even getting a 1 overall for this season.
That's such a bummer, man. That is such a bummer. Hang in there, folks.
Do you think that's really going to change the way teams think? Like, you can't necessarily tank anymore. It really is.
You can't.
It's really put like a emphasis on, we gotta give it our all. We can't do what the Baltimore Orioles did. Are they the last team that really did this?
Yeah, because it was the Cubs and Houston before that, and it worked out extremely well since they won consecutive, World Series.
Who else tried it and it didn't work? Like, could you say the Marlins? But they've been competitive, so no.
Yeah, the Marlins, if you'll remember, after 97 and 2003, their 2 World Series championships here, they stripped down those teams. But that was a payroll thing, really. Yeah. And it was different. We were in a different time and a different climate than we are now in the baseball world. So I think what it means is you better hire team builders who know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
Because you can have whatever budget you want. It's your business. You can do whatever you want. But the Tampa Bay Rays and the Cleveland Guardians are seemingly there every year because they have outstanding management.
Yes.
So it can.
Oh, they do not have that in Chicago.
No, they don't. And their ownership is just getting put through the ringer. And I can't say it's not warranted. So I want to tell you about this. You might assume that you're getting everything that your body needs from a diet or a simple green juice daily, but most people still short on essential nutrients that our bodies need to function at its best. And that's where Momentous comes in. Their creatine, omega-3s, and proteins all ensure that all of our bases are covered. These 3 supplements support nearly every aspect of foundational health, from aiding cognitive function to reducing inflammation in muscles and joints. And I can tell you at this age, as I said earlier, doesn't always work. So you need all the help you can get. And don't just take our word for it. Momentous is trusted supplement provider of nearly every Major League Baseball team. Their creatine is sourced with CreaPure. That's the purest form of creatine, monohydrate available, and the gold standard of creatine. So what exactly is creatine? Because you've heard it termed, but you might not know exactly what it means. It's a naturally produced amino acid commonly found in foods such as red meats and fish that play a vital role in energy production process within your body. So Momentous, it is dedicated to working only with the best, from their collaboration with experts to their unparalleled commitment to only using the highest quality ingredients. So there's a reason why the world's best athletes and experts use and help develop Momentous products. So if you're like the two of us, you want to take what champions take, go to livemomentous.com. Use the code TALKIN. You're going to get 20% off your first order. That is Live Momentous, LiveMomentous.com with the code TALKIN. Okay? There's a link in the description. Go check it out. All right. Back to the games we play. Braves shut out at home in back-to-back games. Brewers get them 10-0. Thanks in part to Willy Adames, a pair of 2-run shots. So what is more interesting to you, Atlanta's continued struggles or trying to figure out how Adames fits in the baseball landscape as one of the better positional free agents to be?
I think I'll talk about Adames here, and I think the talk around him is he's going to get broke off, Chris. Like, this guy is going to get paid. He's going to be 29 next season. He's got some big teams are going to be bidding after him. He's a shortstop that it can provide offensive punch and can put together, good offensive seasons. He's a good clubhouse guy. He kind of has all the intangibles that you look for. And really, I think it's going to be, I think the Dodgers are going to be looking at him. I think probably the Giants are going to be looking at him. I don't think the Brewers are going to try to re-sign him. I just don't think they have that in the cards. So I think this guy is like, he's turned himself into a shortstop, a top. I mean, yeah, there's some good shortstops in the league right now that kind of come out of nowhere.
Right.
He's a top 10 for sure. Maybe even a top 7, I would say. I would put him top 7 shortstops in the league. And I think he's the only one that's going to be a free agent. So this guy is, I think it's really not a question. I think it's just, I guess, who's going to give him that big contract.
Right. So there's basically 4, in my opinion, 4 big positional free agents. Juan Soto's in his own category. Then you've got Adames, Bregman, and Pete Alonso. And those guys give you varying different things on the field. But if you're talking about a shortstop here, we went through that little run where we had a 2 to 3 year run where Correa and Seager and Trey Turner, and before that, Javi Baez, all those guys were available. I mean, I think, does he get a Javi Baez type deal in the mid ones? Is that where he ends up?
So he's turning 29. I'd assume he gets probably like a 6-year deal.
And that's where he ends up.
You're talking about at least $20 million a year. So, and maybe more.
Yeah, right now. So I looked it up. I was just kind of curious in terms of where guys get paid. He's making a little bit more than $12 million this year. That is 10th most among shortstops. The 2 guys right ahead of him are Baez and Trevor Story, and they're both making more than 23. So that's a substantial jump. I think that's probably where he ends up landing.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, how many teams are there? I think you mentioned 2 good ones in the Dodgers and the Giants. Does Atlanta make a play for him?
Seattle?
Yeah. And
they need offense?
They definitely do. They need something up there. So yeah, that's a real possibility. That
one out west, possibly.
Yeah. So I think it'll be. And by the way, I think we're going to be talking more about the Braves. It's kind of why I skipped over them. I mean, it's amazing what has happened with them over the last several weeks. We thought, I think maybe coming into July when it felt like Olsen and Riley were starting to click a little bit, like, okay, all right, the Braves are going to take off. Maybe they won't catch the Phillies, but they're going to separate themselves from the rest of the wild card. They are right in that heap, and they are fighting for their playoff lives with less than 2 months to go. I cannot believe it.
I mean, they're a game and a half from being out of the playoff picture, Chris. This is a team that, like, I think it was pegged for upper 90s wins before the season. And yes, I mean, their two best players got hurt.
Yeah.
Spencer Strider and Ronald Acuña Jr. I mean, so there is reason for this, but also they've had some underperformances. And they even, I mean, and then they hit on Chris Sale, man. Like crazy.
But have you noticed he's only pitched, I think, twice in the last 18 days. I don't know if there's something going on with him.
He's like in the lead of the NL Cy Young, isn't he? I mean, who else is there? Hunter Green, him, Wheeler.
Yeah, those are probably the top three. I think that Dylan Cease has worked his way into the conversation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's very true.
Mm-hmm. I think Sale's lack of usage is something we got to keep our eye on here. They haven't said boo about it. They've tried to space him out and make sure that he's good for these last 2 months, which I'm not against, but we'll see. Speaking of the Braves, it was announced that Atlanta and Cincinnati will play next season, or it's rumored. I don't think it's been officially announced that they're going to play next season at Bristol Motor Speedway. For you non-NASCAR fans, that is a short track special venue in Tennessee. So how much does this get your motor running?
So typically I don't love stuff like this. Like I don't love the Little League World Series game. I don't love the Field of Dreams game.
No fun.
I know I'm no fun. It's not like I dislike him, but it doesn't do it for me that much. I love the game at Rickwood this year just because of the history. Which is cool. But this one piques my interest a little. I'll tell you why. I've played in the Appalachian League, which has a team in Bristol. I believe it used to have a team in Bristol. I don't even know if the Appalachian League exists anymore. I don't think it does.
Okay.
So there was a time where we were driving by, and it was like a week before the race, and the entire place was packed. Like
crazy.
More RVs than I've ever seen in one place ever. And it was a week before the race. If they fill it up and can create an atmosphere like a NASCAR race, then I'm very, very much interested in it. Like I want the teams to have like NASCAR themed jerseys. I'm very curious about like how they're going to set the field up. Like, what is that going to look like? Is it going to be like in the infield in the track? Is that what we're doing?
So that's the thing. Most NASCAR, like the super speedways, are a couple miles around, I believe, right? This one is a half-mile track, which sounds big, but I don't think it's that enormous when you really think about it. So here's the one worry I've got. I don't want them to shoehorn a baseball diamond in the middle of it where all of a sudden, like, one fence is 280 feet. Like, that's what I don't want.
It might be that way. Like if you're thinking about how they would construct a field inside of an oval, I mean, that's what it looks like, right? Like it'd be very short down the lines and probably very deep to center.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible. They did play a college football game there 8 years ago. It was Virginia Tech and Tennessee back when Josh Dobbs.
Was it crazy?
Oh yeah. There were 123,000.
Oh, we need that.
Yes.
We need 100,000+ people at this game and like set up, make sure they can all tailgate. Like, yes.
Now, I think what we ought to do is I think we also ought to have some NASCAR rules in effect. So if you have like a base runner that makes it to second base or something, I want a pit crew out there, like adjusting his cleats and making sure, you know.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
And they all ought to wear NASCAR suits that day. I don't care how hot it is. Like they ought to have special endorsement patches all over the place.
Checkered flags got to be like in play on the uniform somewhere.
No baseball helmets. They have to have racer helmets. They have to use, instead of batting gloves, racing gloves. Like, let's
You're
let's
going
do
too
it
far
up.
now. You're
What do you
going too
mean?
far. But listen, I do believe this could be an awesome event if they can, again, like sort of recreate an atmosphere of a NASCAR race. I've seen it, people. I still vividly remember that image of all of those RVs lining up there, and it looked like I was like, dude, I would love to be there. I'm a big RV guy. Get a little trashy in the RV. Things happen. You don't know anything goes, man.
Hey, have you been to a NASCAR race?
I have not.
Ooh,
I
you haven't
wanna
gone out to
go.
Fontana out here?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I covered one NASCAR race out there at Fontana. I have covered the Indianapolis 500 early in my career. That was crazy. That was crazy.
I'm sure that's crazy. Is that where they kiss the ground?
Yes, they kissed the
I was
bricks.
thinking maybe the guys, if they hit a home run, have to kiss the plate. That was just my thought.
Oh yeah, now you're kind of combining stuff.
Interchanging, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe if we do that at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Elio Castroneves won the year that I covered it. So nobody cares. All right, here's what you should all care about. Treating your dogs with some damn respect. Put some damn respect in their dog bowl. That's where our friends from Farmer's Dog can lend a helping paw. They have developed dog food with vets, made fresh from real meat and veggies, perfectly portioned for your dog and delivered right to your door. While I was gone on my trip to the Bay Area, I got an alert that Sydney's going to be happy because her latest installment of the Farmer's Dog is ready to roll. So I turned on my house cameras. I gave it a look. I saw them drop it off. Michelle opened the door, brought in the box, and my dog went nuts because the Farmer's Dog food was there yet again. It takes less than 5 minutes to fill out a questionnaire at thefarmersdog.com. You tell them your breed of dog, the age of the dog, how much exercise it gets, how much it eats, and voila. Just like that, they're going to send you frozen packets with your dog's name on the dang thing. Stick it in the freezer, and about 24 hours before you need to figure out how much food to actually put in your bowl, you stick it in the fridge. They got it all taken care of. It is smart, healthy pet food that will help them with their skin, with their fur, with smaller poops, with digestion, with their breath. They are taking care of it. Call it the 5-tool dog food. So it doesn't matter if your dog is old or young. It's always the right time to begin investing in their health. Help keep your dog healthy and playing ball with you. You're going to get 50% off your first box at thefarmersdog.com/today. Plus, you get free shipping, which is a big deal because it's a big box. Head on over to thefarmersdog.com/today to get 50% off. Because at the end of the day, who doesn't want their little pooch looking up at them with those big chocolate eyes and saying, "Ready? Right, roo. Right, really, roo. Right, roo." I love this, and it's why I'm wearing a Seattle Mariners cap today. The Mariners visited the Seattle Children's Hospital for a reverse signing. Apparently, this was set up by Mitch Haniger. So you can see all the players going through the line as all these kids are signing baseballs and pieces of paper and anything else for the big leaguers. That's awesome.
I mean, anytime you do charity work, I'm going to give you props because it is your job as a big league ball player to give back to the community that supports you. But this some of these kids will love forever because you meet a guy, you get an autograph, it's great. But like having them physically do something like writing their name on a baseball or a baseball card or whatever, like they're just going to remember that. I did this at Twins Fest. We used to have to sit for an hour and a half and sign for fans, and a lot of people hated it. I loved it. I love to interact. I can talk.
Yes, you're
right?
great.
I can talk. And there's one guy that covers the Twins. His name is Seth. He was with his daughter in line, and I said, "Hey, can you sign the table for me?" And she signed it, and I did that from time to time. But he'll still, like, to this day, like, remember that. It says she remembers doing that for you, and she loved it so much. And it's like just simple stuff like that, like creating these memories. How often do I talk about it on this show? Like, you can do it, and it means so much. And the Mariners, 2 thumbs up. Love that.
Hell yes. And, it is funny because you often hear a lot of people say the phrase when they do charitable work that I get a lot more out of it than people I'm helping do. And you're like, you listen to it and you're like, oh, really? Like, but it's true. And when you do this, I guarantee you it broke up the monotony of the day. They knew that they were hanging around a bunch of kids whose daily lives are challenging. And just to give them a little bit of time where they're not thinking about being poked by needles and checked out by doctors and nurses, and just to be kids. Hell, it's hard enough being a kid these days in anything when there aren't any physical obstacles. Imagine what it's like for these kids. It's why one of the great traditions in sports, and I started it with a little football talk. I'll actually end it with this, is that at University of Iowa, before the fourth quarter, the stadium, Kinnick Stadium, is stationed right next to the Children's Hospital. And there's all the kids there on the top floors of the hospital. Everybody in that stadium turns and waves to the kids. That includes the visiting players, the visiting fans, that entire stadium. Everybody turns. Doesn't matter what the game's been like. They all turn and wave at the beginning of the fourth quarter. It is. Go look up that video on YouTube.
I didn't know. Yeah, I'm going to. That's awesome.
It'll make you're going to go down a rabbit hole and just start crying your eyes out. It is an incredible story. Thanks for hanging out with us today. It's always fun. Don't forget to get your 5-hour energy question of the weekend by Thursday night so Plouffe can use it on Friday's show. It's really important. Thank you. Thank you to our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, our amazing intern, Tommy Young. That is the uber-talented Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose. We will see you Thursday here on Baseball Today, presented to you by 5-Hour Energy.